Ladies and gentlemen.
There's lots of people who feel lots of ways about what had happened. But one group of people who has really seen this as an opportunity to elevate their dimming star are some of the lesser known celebrities. Now, obviously, you saw Harry and Meghan come stumbling out from Montecito to let you know that they see you and that they're giving out free hugs. Weirdly enough, they were there surveying the damage. Okay, nobody needs that. Nobody was like, you know what? My house is gone. If I could have anything right now, it would be a hug from a diminished prince and his clingers-on wife who has abandoned her father, turned her back on her family, and insisted her husband do the same. I would like somebody who has such brittle familial ties and who has no friends to come over here and give me a hug as I stand in the ashes and the debris of my once beautiful home. That's what I need to feel whole again. But Harry and Meghan had to go. And the thing that's crazy is that there's honestly a lot of celebrities who have been devastated by this, but also some who lived farther enough out that they can actually come and bring aid and try to be helpful to those who are literally standing in the shambles of their lives. But we don't know who they are because they don't call a team. They don't say, hey, let me tip off the paparazzi. Let me let somebody know that I'm here. So there's lots of people who are there helping, but we don't know about it. Harry and Meghan literally had let the paparazzi know that they would be there. And there was all these people milling around them and taking pictures of them who would never have known had they just left their house. The sickness that Harry and Meghan think that they can deceive us into us believing that it was a natural and organic conclusion that the paparazzi would follow Harry and Meghan wherever they went, and that it's not their fault that they came, in their little grubby work clothes to come and help and hand out sandwiches and hugs. The paparazzi just really care what they're doing. Then why don't the paparazzi care about what the actual celebrities are doing who are out there helping? Because those actual celebrities didn't call anybody. We later see Meghan coming over to serve some lunch to some girls who have been displaced by the fire and to bring supplies and goods for people. But see, this is one of the things that I have a question about. I love that people are saying, hey, you can send supplies, you can donate clothes, resources, essentials, and all of this. My only question is, where are these displaced people going to put all these newfound goods? We see her hugging somebody in this video that's provided, but then I don't actually ever see her doing any of the work. I find it very annoying that even in this situation, she's trying to brand herself as this helper, this homemaker, this I want to restore dignity to you again. I'm going to come in my LA ball cap because I'm in LA and I care about LA. I mean, everything she does is so scripted and strange. Who wears an LA hat to LA to help with the fires? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like these are robotic actions made by somebody who is not in touch with humanity. Anyway, she comes. She hands out hugs. In the wake of this devastation, the silver lining is that she has decided that it would be inappropriate for her to release her show about making your house a home when no one has a house or a home. So she's put it off till March. Now, in the interest of complete honesty, let me tell you about how devastated I am by that, because I was honestly looking forward to reviewing it. So I'm like, darn it, that was some priceless content for my channel. And now she's decided that she's going to postpone it till March. So we'll watch it in March if she even then decides. And you guys, let's not pretend that the reason she postponed it is because no one has a house to make a home. Okay? Because she didn't care about the fact that, there's plenty of people across the country who don't have houses to make a home, or people who are too poor to live the way she does. She was going to release it anyway. The reason she's not releasing it isn't because her friends have been devastated. It's because nobody wanted to see it. Netflix released the trailer and it was eviscerated minutes into sending it. I talked about it. Everybody talked about it. Everyone was like, are you for real right now? What is this piece of garbage? And so for Meghan to be like, because I care so much about the devastation that everyone is experiencing, I know that it would be inappropriate for me to release this Netflix series that I have labored and loved over because it can wait. I care about those who've been devastated, and that's my focus right now. No, we don't believe that. We just know that you couldn't handle the fire and brimstone that hailed down on you when you released your silly trailer. So don't act like you're so altruistic that you just really care about the devastated. And right now your focus is on them. By the way, you guys, I want to let you know they opened their house. They opened their house to friends and loved ones who had been devastated. But you know what? When you have no family, because you've ostracized everyone and you have no friends, that's a really easy offer to make. All right. Well, so they've been using this like we knew they would. Like, this is the person who flew across the country to Uvalde after the shooting so she could be seen kneeling at the graves and hugging on people's necks. This is a person who has never seen a tragedy that she did not want to exploit. Why do you think that she fell on Harry like a hyena over a corpse? Because she sees somebody who is devastated, somebody who is barely limping along, and Meghan's like, yes, my next meal. So her involvement in all of this, Harry's tagging along.
We care so much. And it's really upsetting when everyone says that we don't really care, because if we didn't care, why would we be here?
We expected those two sad sacks to show up. But the real people that have surprised me in all of this are Heidi and Spencer Pratt. Although I should have suspected that these former reality TV stars, if you could call the Hills reality TV, I never knew what that was, that they would see this as an epic opportunity to refocus cameras on themselves. Now, in the interest of kindness and fairness, they did lose everything. And as Heidi has gone on to say in many an interview, they were house poor. They owned a home, but everything they had was in that house. Well, it's gone now. And so they're literally like living dollar to dollar, trying to find a way out of this. But they are like the roaches that survived the atomic bomb. They'll find a way. And the way that they have chosen is that Heidi has re-released the record. I think she called it Superficial. Apparently, and according to Spencer, they used every dollar so that she could have this music career, which, as we know, never took off. Because you don't know Heidi as some kind of legendary musician, as some kind of amazing pop star. So obviously it never took off. Yet now it sits at the number one because everyone, as a pity listen, is choosing to listen to this on iTunes. But here's Spencer weeping over the fact that Heidi's finally had her moment.
Every dollar we made from the Hills, we put into this album, Superficial. And for it to freaking finally get number one in America, 15 years after. It was so good.
Again, they lost everything. They lost everything, and the fires were coming, and they didn't even have a chance to think about what they wanted to grab. Heidi has said in many interviews, because these two are looking at every camera they can find, to discuss the fact that she was so confused, she didn't know what to grab. So she grabbed her kids' teddy bears, and that was about it. On the one hand, great mom move, because if you have kids, or if you even remember yourself as a child, whatever little critter you took to bed with you had like a personality and a living soul. And for that to have gotten burned in the fire would have probably devastated her kids more than anything else that got burned in the fire. So good move on grabbing those. But she does just talk about the fact that, like, I couldn't think, my brain stopped working and I didn't know what to grab, and now everything's gone. There just wasn't time. There was no time to think about what I wanted to grab. And so, they've lost everything. They've lost every picture of their lives before there was an iPhone. They've lost all of their things, everything. And like so many others, they didn't have insurance. So I understand why they're kind of scrambling to figure out what to do next, but they seem to be doing it quite well for a couple of people who have no resources. Obviously, they have lots of connections, so there's lots of people who want to interview them. They've gotten tons of sit-down interviews. Their TikTok is blowing up, you guys. And if there was a person that I needed less of in my life, it is Spencer Pratt. Because he is this guy who really wants to be this alpha male, super protective of his family. But he has spent too much time in LA and had one too many soy lattes. And there's just something about him and his crying and his weeping and his posturing to seem like he's this big protective guy that does not come off well. A great example of that is the fact that Mandy Moore has received tons of attack because, like so many others, her home was burned. It's not burned to the ground, but it's not livable. Her husband's studio and every instrument gone, destroyed. And then her brother-in-law and all of his things were destroyed. So there was a GoFundMe for her brother-in-law, and she posted it on her social media That doesn't mean that she is not contributing and helping that family, though she has quite a lot now that they have to finance to fix. But people were saying, how can we help? Well, the people closest to her is her brother-in-law, who I believe was like her next door neighbor. And so she posted about it. And everyone's attacking. And let me just tell you, the sickness of the self-righteous has come out like pus out of a huge boil. People are so quick to attack if they think that you are not jumping as fast as you can to offering help and aid. If you have anything to say about the fires, the first thing somebody says is, yeah, but what are you doing? Yeah, but what are you doing? But why are you saying it this way? But why are you saying it that way? What have you done? What have you contributed? And what I can tell you is this. You worry about you, okay? You worry about what you've contributed. So everyone's piling on Mandy Moore. You're so rich. Why are you even telling us about a GoFundMe? You should just be funding them. Well, she's kind of got to fund herself. Her house is in ashes and her husband's studio and everything that he did is gone. So she's kind of got some of her own problems right now. Well, anyway, Spencer saw another opportunity for him to get up on his high horse. So he rears up. I don't think he's ever met Mandy Moore, but he was like, you guys just come for Mandy. You guys just come for Mandy one more time. You don't even want to know what I'm going to do. I'm going to come at you like a spider monkey. It's a little bit lame. He's like, she's a super nice lady, you guys. And like, I think she's got some kids and stuff. I think she's got like 3 kids actually. So he's like, he just sees somebody and he like immediately wants to like jump in on that story because that's a story right now. And Spencer's like, got to keep these TikTok numbers up, got to keep content going, and so he's like, at this point, he's milling through all of his garbage. I guess they've let him back home. That's another thing, by the way. These celebrities are able to go back to their homes. There's all kinds of like laymen and nobodies that are desperate to get back and see what can I salvage, if I can salvage anything. And the streets are all, cordoned off for them. And no, you can't go home. And we'll let you know when you can get back and see your things. It's not your house anymore. It's the property of LA as we survey the damage that was caused because of our inadequacies and unprofessionalism. But all these celebrities are able to, mine for all their stuff and find the pot that they made their hummingbird syrup out of. And, look at this trinket and look at this trash, says Spencer on TikTok. Meanwhile, all the nobodies can't seem to get in. While Harry and Meghan walk the streets. While Spencer, mines his trash heap for, content on TikTok. And, it's just one of those things where it's like, I understand. I completely understand needing to figure out how you're going to finance your life. But the way that some of these celebrities, the Spencer and the Heidis and the, Meghan and the Harrys, Meghan and Harry worst because they have no reason to be there whatsoever. They live like 90 minutes away. Their house is fine. Yet they want to come and survey the damage. Spencer and Heidi are different because they have been affected by this. They don't have anything left now, and they are kind of trying to find their way out of it. But there's a little bit too much of like an enjoyment. Heidi's making videos of her going to Marshall's to like buy new clothes, And so like they're kind of rebranding themselves as this sort of like poor couple, which honestly they are in a bad financial bind, but they're this poor couple and they're just trying to make it. But then this is like it's like this new reality show, it's rebuilding the hills now, as I saw somebody say. I guess you just got to do what you can with the toolbox that you have. So I guess Spencer and Heidi's toolbox is to kind of mine their life for content. I don't really know what the two of them have been doing since the hills. And you see them on the cover of some grocery store magazines from time to time, as the millennials remember their childhood in the hills. And I guess that's their claim to fame. But what have they been doing so far so that they don't have to pick the album from 2010 that never made it, to throw at people and then hope that people will listen to it so that they can get some dollars? Maybe I'm sounding really harsh. I'm sure you guys will let me know if I am. But there's just something about these little Marshall trips and these, digging through the trash and the, crying, holding the camera and then crying into it about your wife's sudden success that just feels a little bit pathetic to me. Only because if this was the only way that you could go on and rebuild your life, everybody would be doing it. But it's like Spencer and Heidi are just so desperately looking for the next camera, the next little viral clip, the next moment. I just feel like everyone's looking at Harry and Meghan, but I'm like, well, they're not the only ones who are using this as an opportunity to get some viral attention and get some eyes on them in what they perceive as a positive light. The other person who decided to crawl up out of the ashes was Kim Kardashian. She wants you guys to know that she really cares about the people in prisons. Probably because so many of her boyfriends seem to be headed that way. There was a time when Kim Kardashian wanted you guys to know that she was a lawyer. Now, she was doing some like home study stuff, and she never really managed to pass the bar. But she was a really serious person, you guys. And she had met with the president and gotten this one woman released. And so now, she's like a prison spokesperson, really. And she speaks for all the prisoners all the time. That's the blood that pumps through her heart, is the care and concern for the incarcerated. So she used this opportunity to get on her social media and be like, you guys, there's actually a really serious situation going on in the prisons. And my concern is that they're not getting paid enough. Now, they're only getting paid $1 an hour extra for emergency help. And that hasn't been raised since the 80s. And I just feel like we need to be more worried about what the prisoners are receiving in compensation for the work that they do during these emergencies. And my thing is, Kim, part of the deal of being in prison is that you no longer receive a paycheck of any substantial worth. Because you're in prison. There's people who have nothing left. There are people whose whole lives, their home, their business, everything, gone. Their kids' school, their churches, their synagogues, gone. But your main concern, you're going to pop off on social media because you don't think the incarcerated are getting paid enough an hour when they're dragged up out of that prison cell to come out and do their slave labor. That's part of the deal of when you commit the crime, there's a consequence. And part of the consequence is you're not getting paid that fat check. But you guys, what about the incarcerated? I'm thinking that Governor Newsom needs to care more about the incarcerated pay wage. I'm thinking Governor Newsom has a whole lot more on his plate to worry about than how much the incarcerated are getting. Part of the things he should be worried about is like, I don't know, the fact that one of the most major cities in the United States have been burned to the ground under his watch. Maybe something like that. But other people were also looking for their moment in the sun. David Muir was roasted this week because he decided to show up to survey the damage and to talk about the damage in a newscaster capacity. Okay, so that's fine. He's there. He's got a report. Fine, whatever, David Muir. You can show up for ABC. But you cannot show up in a 5-year-old's costume with clothespins in the back to show off your svelte waist. Sorry, no. And it was a moment of blinding embarrassment for him. As he's talking about the fires in this sort of reflective fireman's jacket, weirdly enough, because nobody asked you to wear that, it was given dress-up vibes. But it was really given dressed-up vibes when he turned and you could see the clothespins at his back, pulling that jacket in so that he could look real svelte. And I'm here to tell you, David Muir, it backfired because everyone was laughing about it. Now, he's not the first person to care how they look on camera. Clearly, I didn't just roll out of bed looking like this. So at a certain point, it's like, well, all of us want to look good. But not all of us put on a costume and make sure that it's pulled in tight to show off our best assets. You know what I'm saying? But it's a bad look when there are fires raging behind you, smoke and destruction everywhere, and people weeping because they have lost everything. And you got to make sure that that costume fits just right.